everybody, this is Shawna Audet from the Flying Cat Academy. Welcome to Lesson 4. Let's set up our table. In the top left corner of the table, you will have your top 160 sight word list. Some of the words will have circles around them, representing the ones that entered the card pack, students working on those words. And then as the student masters the words, you take them out of their card pack and you highlight them on your master list. And this way you always know where you are. Once the words are mastered and they leave the pack, I usually put them in a Ziploc baggie and I put them at the back of my teacher binder. And then periodically I bring them out and I quiz the student. It's okay if a word has to come back into the sight word pack at a different point. That's okay. And then I've got my sight word method teaching sheet, the card pack for the student, some pencils. Notice the check marks on that word of. On the left side, it represents the number of times the student correctly wrote the word, and those pink check marks are when they correctly read the word. The blank cards for your new words that you might add, your highlighter, and some markers. Let's move on. The short vowel drill comes next. You'll need your teacher instruction sheet and the pictures that the student's going to use for their tracing drill, and the keyword sentence as well. Then we move on to the phonemic awareness drill. You'll need the teacher instruction sheet and whatever materials you're using. I use those colored tiles. Then we've got the auditory and visual drill with the card pack. The blending drill, which is going to use those cards with the graphemes on them. And you are going to have those on your own table and you'll do the drill. It's really hard for me to do that one because the students that are taking these lessons are all moving at different paces, so it's hard to know how quickly for me to move those tiles. Then we'll have the magnetic letter tile spelling and reading drill, which you're going to have the cookie sheet with the magnetic letters on it. We've got the syllable pounding, which we will have on the table but not use, the new phoneme and grapheme kinesthetic discovery instructions, and the sheets that we're going to use in this lesson. Let's look at those sheets. We'll have a closer look at those. You'll have your lesson plan on hand, and then that pile of papers that was on the far right side of the table, here's what's in there. You've got the syllable gestures that we're going to do in the new concept section, and we're going to do a yes-no drill to find out what is a syllable. So you'll have to cut those out so they look like that. Then we'll have our discovery list and our reading list, the connected text for the story today with the pictures that you'll show later, and the sentences. We begin with the sight word study method. Take out the cards on which the student is currently working. Ask the student to read each card. When they're finished, the teacher takes the cards and then reads each one to the student and asks the student to write each word. When you're finished with that, have a discussion about which, if any, of these words are mastered. If they're mastered, they leave the pack, and I like to keep them in the back of my binder so that we can review at different points. And this leaves space so that if there's time, you can introduce a new sight word, and you use your top 160 word list to do that. Do the sight word study method activity and then come back to me. Let's move on to the short vowel drill. Do you have your keyword pictures out? We'll start with apple, so take 2 fingers and we're going to trace the apple and say apple, ah, and then move on to Eddie, eh, and you'll do each one 5 times. And then you'll say your keyword sentence. Do so now and then come back to me. Let's do the phonemic awareness drill. You're going to need your little tiles for this one. So get them out now. And I'm going to tell you your word is mad. Can you repeat that word? I want you to build the word mad with your colored tiles. Do that now, and then come back to me. Now that you've built the word, I want you to tap each sound, saying each sound, and then underline the word and blend the whole word together and tell me the whole word. Do that now. Okay, can you find the D in the word mad? Touch that tile for D. Did you find it? Now I want you to change the D into a mm. What would be your new word? Tap each tile and then say the whole word. Did you get man? If you did, you're right. So if that's man, can you find the ah in man? Just tap each one till you come to the ah. I want you to change the ah in man to an What would you have if you did that? Tap and say it. Did you get mun? That's not a real word. Let's turn it into a real word. Find the in mun and change the to a p. Once you do that, tap it and say it. Did you get pun? If you did, you are correct. Find the in pun. Is your finger on the I want you to change the into eh. What's the new word? Tap it and say it. Did you get pen? If you did, you're right. And then the last one, find the eh in pen and change the eh into an I. What's your word now? Tap it and say it. Good job. It's time for the visual drill. Teacher, you can decide if you would prefer to lead your student through this activity or if you'd like me to. If you would rather do it, then just fast forward ahead to the next activity. Otherwise, here we go. So student, I'm going to show you a card. Can you name this letter and tell me the sound that it makes? Did you say K, K? If you did, you're right. I want to make sure that you're taking the off of these sounds. So this sound is not K, it is K. Can you say that again? K. Okay, let's go on. Can you name this letter and tell me the sound that it makes? This is an L. O. This is not L, so let's take off that sound. It's O. Say that again if you need to. O. Good. M. Did you say P? P. This is not P, it is P. Just a pop of air. Did you say T? T. If you did, terrific. Let's go on to the auditory drill. Now I'll tell you a sound, and I want you to repeat the sound. Then you're going to write it down, and as you repeat it, you're going to underline it. Your sound is T. Can you say the sound? Okay, now I want you to write down the symbol that goes with the sound T. After you finish, underline it and say the sound one more time. How did you do? Did you guess T? Good job if you did. The next sound is Can you repeat that? Now what symbol goes with the sound I want you to write that down on your paper. When you finish, I want you to underline it and say the sound one more time. Did you guess U? If you did, good job. Let's move on to the blending drill. This is the drill that uses the paper cards. Your teacher has them all lined up, and they're going to get removed one by one, and with each word you're going to tap it and say it. Let's do it now, and then come back to me. Let's do a quick review of what we've learned so far. One big concept that we talked about is what is the difference between a consonant and a vowel. Can you take out your magnetic letter tiles, and I want you to touch each vowel that you know, and can you say the name of the vowel and the sound that it makes? Do that now. I'm wondering what makes the difference between a vowel and a consonant. Do you know? If you do, tell your teacher right now. Have a quick discussion about what's the difference between a consonant and a vowel, and then come back to me. I want you to pull the vowels into the workspace. There's my A, E, and you do this while I'm doing it. I, O, and U. And then we're going to pull this Y out. We've been talking about the fact that the Y is sometimes a vowel and sometimes it's not. It really just depends on the position in the word where you find the Y. When the Y is at the start of a word, do you remember the sound that it makes? If you do, you can tell your teacher. When it's at the start of the word, what sound would it make? Did you say y? If you did, that's correct. So you could tap this word out. You could say y, et, yet. Is Y a vowel when it is in the middle of a word? Yes, Y is a vowel when it's in the middle of a word. How about when it's at the end? Is it a vowel when it's at the end? Yes, it is. So the only time that it acts as a consonant is when it's at the front. We have a little song that helps us to remember this. Let's sing it. And your teacher can help you put T away if she needs to. We're going to take the Y and we're going to touch each one and we're going to say A, E, I, O, U are vowels that I know you've heard, but Y is only a vowel when it's not at the start of a word. So if this was a word and it was at the start, it would be a consonant, but it's a vowel in every other position in a word. Let's do it one more time. Ready? Here we go. A, E, I, O, U are vowels that I know you've heard, but Y is only a vowel when it's not at the start of a word. Let's do one more quick check. We learned about how to resolve the confusion that we have between B, D, P, and Q. And we have a hand gesture that we use to remember that. So I want you and your teacher to do the hand gesture and the words that go with it. When I go to bed, I like peace and quiet. And I want you to talk about how the different shapes work. So why does that gesture make sense? Now we'll move on to the new concept for today's lesson. We're going to learn the definition of a syllable. What is a syllable? Well, put your hands like this, and that's going to represent a whole thing. A syllable can be a word. Or it could be, and go like this, this represents just a little bit. It could be just a bit of a word, a part of a word. But no matter what, it's going to have one vowel pattern. You could also think one vowel sound. So let's do that again. A syllable is a word, like the whole word, or just part of a word with one vowel pattern. So what does that mean? Well, let's look. So if I have this, it's an F, an A, and an N, and I want to know, is it a syllable? Well, let's apply the definition. Is that a word? To find out, let's tap it and say it. Fan. Is fan a word? Ooh, it sure it is. I'm fanning myself. So that is a syllable because a syllable can be a word. But what if, let's just change it here. What if it would look like this? Is that a syllable? Remember the definition. A syllable is a word or part of a word with one vowel pattern. Well, is it a word? Let's start there. Ass, tass. It's not an English word. Okay, so it's not a word. Is it part of a word? Well, actually, yes, it is. It's part of the word fantastic. So it is part of a word. Does it have a vowel pattern? Yeah, it's got a vowel in there. So it's a syllable. And now let's apply. What if I did this? Is that a syllable? Okay, well, TNS. Is it a word? Nope. Is it part of a word? Nope, it just looks like nonsense. Does it have one vowel pattern? So that's really the key thing about what a syllable is. It has a vowel sound in it. Something that's going to make your jaw drop. Ah, eh, ah. This one doesn't have a vowel, so it is not a syllable. So let's do the gesture again. A syllable is a word, like fan, or part of a word, like tass, that has one vowel pattern. And the reason why we say pattern instead of just one vowel is because sometimes a vowel sound is made with more than one vowel. You know, a bumblebee is B-E-E, so the two E's together make that one E sound. Let's do a word sort, or syllable card sort, and see if we understand this concept. So you've got two headings, one says yes and one says no. And what your teacher will put them on the table there. And what I want you to do is I want you to take these little cards and sort them. Under yes if it is a syllable, and no if it's not. Move on. We're going to focus on a special sound. I am going to read you a list of words, and the sound is in every single one of those words. It might be a vowel or it might be a consonant, but you will hear this one sound in every single word. Let's see if you can figure out what the sound is. On, top, pot, yacht, dog, rob, nog, op, sod. Did you figure out what it was? If you need the list to be read one more time, your teacher can do that. The sound was ah, made by the letter O. Now the teacher's going to give you this list, and I would like you to circle all of the O's that you see on this list. Don't read those words. It's just about circling the O's. You can take your favorite pencil crayon color or just a pencil and do that now. Let's feel how the ah sound feels as we create it. So put your hands on your throat and we'll say ah. It's hard to know how it feels unless we compare it with something else. So let's do that. We'll say z as in zipper. Zzz. So what happens when we say zzz? I feel this really, it pulls back. Zzz. Big motor on sound, isn't it? Zzz. My teeth are open, but just barely. Zzz. Well, they're almost closed there. And then how about, what's the difference now? Now we can have a difference. So let's try ah. So ah. Now let's do zzz. Zzz. Do ah again. Zzz. Ah. So what's happening when we say ah? Think about how there's different things at work when we're making a sound. You have your tongue in a certain position, your teeth are involved, your lips, and your vocal cords. So talk with your teacher right now about how it feels to make ah. Ah. Is the motor on? It is. Where's your tongue? Ah. Did you say that it's in the lower part of your mouth? Ah, yep. How does your jaw feel? Mine feels quite relaxed when I make that sound. Compared to z as in zipper. Zzz, because that feels like quite tight for me. And then when I say ah, everything relaxes. Ah. Just drop my jaw and makes it happen. Ah. And then this pulls in a little. Ah. Yeah. So now let's compare it to p as in pop. P. What happens when you make pop? P. Is that a motor on or motor off? P. That one's a motor off. It just pops right out. P. And look what happens when we make the lips on that one. P. They start closed and then they open up. So that's very different than ah. Now try to make ah. Ah. Now say p. What a huge difference on that one. Ah. Yeah, so what did we learn about ah? Are the vocal cords vibrating? Ah, yes they are. Is the jaw relaxed and open? Ah, yes it is. And where's the tongue in your mouth? Ah, mine's on the bottom and my teeth are open. Ah, very good. Now let's make a card to help us remember the two sounds that the O can make. You and your teacher can make cards together. Here's how mine would look. So I make an O in the front and I'll say 2 because there's 2 sounds that O can make. And I'll put an O in the bottom. That would be a capital, but they look the same in this case. And then on the back we'll have it divided because there's 2 sounds that we have to put down. The short sound of O is represented by that little smiley. And I'm going to pick pop because here's that olive. You could do olive if you want because that's our keyword picture. And I'm not very good, but that's a pop. And then I did open for the long O sound. For the long O, we put O with a straight line to show that it's long. And that's my best attempt at an open door. Let's move on. It's time for the magnetic letter tile drill. I'm going to tell you that your first sound is aw. Can you repeat that sound? Okay, now find the symbol for aw, the letter tile for aw, and pull it into your workspace. Do so now. Your next sound is Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile that makes the sound and pull it into your workspace. Do you have them lined up there? So tap them and say them, and your teacher will check your work. Then we'll put those tiles back and we'll start our next word. Here it is. Your sound is Can you repeat that sound? Find the letter tile that goes with and pull it to the workspace. Your next sound is aw. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and bring it into your workspace. And your last sound is d. Can you repeat that sound? Find the correct tile and bring it into your workspace. And you have them all lined up. And you're going to tap it and say it. And your teacher will check your work. If there's time permitting, then teacher, you can try out doing those steps and do the magnetic letter tile drill for another word that's listed on the lesson plan. And if not, then let's carry on. Okay, student, you can get out your single word chart here and you're going to read the words listed. Some of them are real and some of them are nonsense. And teacher, you can just have an eye on the time and know if we have time to read the whole thing or just part of it. You can move on to the story now, and the teacher will let you see the pictures afterwards. It's time for the magnetic letter tile drill again. This time I'm going to tell you the word, and you're going to spell it. Your word is not. Can you repeat that word? Now use the word in a sentence. Let's see, what will be mine? I will say, I will not go skiing today. Now you try it. What's your sentence? Okay. I'm going to ask you, what is the first sound that you hear in not? Find the correct tile and pull it to your workspace. What's the second sound that you hear in the word not? Find the correct tile and pull it to your workspace. And then what's the last sound that you hear in the word not? Find the correct tile and pull it to your workspace. So now you've got your tiles all lined up and you're going to tap it and say it. Do that now. Okay, and if you have time, we'll do one more word. If not, teacher, you can skip this section and just move on to the next one. I will tell you that your next word is sod. Can you repeat that word? Now let's use it in a sentence. You first. Tell your teacher and pause here. Okay, and I might say, I went out in the garden and worked with the sod. Okay, what's the first sound that you hear in sod? Find the correct tile and bring it to the middle. What's the second sound that you hear in sod? Find the tile and bring it to the middle. And what's the last sound that you hear in sod? Find the right tile and bring it to the middle. And now let's tap it, say it. How'd you do? So teacher, if there's time, you're allowed to use the instructions and introduce a third word there. And if not, let's just move on. We're going to do some finger tapping. This is where you're taking a finger and you're tapping it to your thumb. And we're saying the sounds as we do it. And then we grab the whole word and we pull it across and say the whole word. Let's try an example. Not. So tap out each one. N, ah, t. And then you grab the word in the air and pull it from left to right. And remember that I'm mirrored right now. Okay, let's do our word that you're going to do all on your own. So I want you to tap out the word pen, as in I will write with a pen. Pen. What sounds do you hear? Tap it out now. Grab the whole word and pull it. Okay, how'd you do? The next word we're going to trace. So you can trace on your leg, on your arm. I'm going to use my hand so you can see it. And the next word is nut. So we're going to trace the actual letter and say the sound. And when I finish, then I'll grab the word and pull it across and say the whole word. So do that now. We'll try a third word now, and you can choose whether you want to do some tapping or some tracing. And then we'll pull the word in either case, we'll pull the word and say the whole word at the end. Your word is tin. How'd you do? And we're going to write some words now. So we're not just going to tap them, we're going to write them as well. So we're going to go, well, you'll tap or trace, and then you'll actually physically write it. Your word is fan. Your last word is con. And when you're finished, we only have one section left in the lesson. That is, we're going to write some sentences. So I will tell you the sentence, and then you will write it down, and we're going to think about all the things, like we're going to have great handwriting, we're going to think about our capitalization and our periods. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. Your sentence is, a rat is on the cat. Can you repeat that? A rat is on the cat. All right, now grab your lined paper and a pencil and write down that sentence. When you're finished, your teacher will let you see that sentence and you can check your work. And teacher, go through the steps in CHOPS now. You're going to lead it this time. And right on the lesson plan, it'll tell you the different things that CHOPS stands for. And just make sure that they're all present in the student's writing. And if not, they can correct it. Do so now. All right, and your last sentence is, the pen got in a tin can. The pen got in a tin can. Can you say that sentence? Okay, it's time to write it. So teacher, have the student write it and then have them check their work with CHOPS. This is the end of Lesson 4. Great work. This is Shawna Audet from the Flying Cat Academy. Bye now.